So we're probably going to hear a bunch of like,
These acorns are no joke, playa. They can hurt you. I took a direct hit from one in the arm and it didn't feel good.
Rafi's tips for artists because he loves you.
Hola, you amazing artists! So there are a bunch of things that I wish I knew back when I first started that I know now. For a lot of you, you guys are just starting out in your art career, and maybe I could give you what I consider is one of the most important pieces of advice, or one of the most important things that I learned. So because I'm doing this full time, a lot of people that are not artists, or even people that are artists, tend to come up to me and say, you know what, you are really, really lucky. Although I do appreciate the fact that I'm able to do what I love, I don't really agree with people saying that I'm lucky, because things didn't just fall in my lap. I had to change the way that I saw the world in order for things to start happening.
Yeah, lucky is like if a gold bar falls out of the sky and assuming it doesn't hit you.
Yeah,
and then you finance your artistic endeavors.
Yeah. Flying gold bars in the sky could either be considered lucky or extremely horrifying.
Depending on where you're standing, yeah.
And a lot of the things that I talk about in these videos have to do with the way that I started, which was not things just falling in my lap. It was basically go out and blaze my own trail. It's one of the reasons that I have a more difficult time giving you specifics as far as what to do, because honestly, everybody that I know that is an artist full time, they did it their own way. They figured out how to do it. There's a comment on one of my videos about where I started and how I started at the flea market, and how I recommend that, like, if you don't know where to start at the flea market, because the learning experience there is something that you cannot purchase anywhere. Essentially, you are going to learn how to talk to people, how to haggle, how to take criticism big time, more than any other venue that you could possibly do. And this person commented and said that was really bad advice, and honestly, maybe it is, but for me, it was the best thing that I could have done, because I was so afraid to show my work that showing my work in that environment was a make it or break it for me. And essentially, after coming out of that environment, honestly, I could face any criticism. I could face any market. So you're there in the nitty-gritty, dealing with people, showing your work for the first time, facing every single fear that you have. And I think that that's what it comes down to. It's not based on luck. There's a lot of people that wait to get lucky in their art career. And honestly, if you're waiting to get lucky in your art career, like somebody discovering you or getting lucky enough to have a gallery decide just out of the blue to represent you or something, without actually trying to push yourself outside of things that you are comfortable in, like maybe actually going to several galleries and showing your work, going to some restaurants, going to any kind of venue where you could actually display and show your work, especially if you're not showing your work, all of those things are outside of your comfort zone, and all of those things take work. It's not luck. You go and you try and you try and you try and you keep trying and you keep putting yourself out there until you are able to make money with your craft.
I agree. You might get discovered, but you still gotta work for that work.
Yes, you gotta work.
Working on my sheet.
Essentially, my first thing that I wanted to do was actually show my work out in front of people, and I was terrified to show my work. And so the idea of going and visiting galleries or going and checking out opportunities, especially when in this town there was a limitation on opportunities because there was a limitation on galleries. I'd already filled my name out for some of the co-op galleries in town, and nothing was happening with that. And so I took matters into my own hands and realized that I could open up my own booth to start showing my art. Surprisingly, people responded because, you are showing your artwork somewhere, and you are starting to run into other artists who have opportunities, gallery owners, people that you would not meet unless you were actually out there showing your stuff somewhere.
Some people were like, hey, I got some poster board if you want to paint on some poster board. I got a whole stack of it if you could use it. And then other people were like, hey, I know about this show that you could do.
Yeah, a lot of the big shows that we did were because we met people at the flea market that gave us the contact information for people to go and do some big shows. And we also met gallery owners and business owners and restaurant owners. This person also left a comment about, oh, I would never show my stuff in restaurants. And to be honest with you, one of the high-end restaurants in town that shows my stuff, I've sold more things out of their high-end pieces than I have out of a gallery. I'm not saying that you're wrong if you don't want to show. I don't know what kind of restaurants you have in your village. I don't know what kind of restaurants you have in your town, but for me in this town with the contacts and the business owners that I know, it's worked out really well. I can't give you a play-by-play on what to do, but I can tell you that unless you're willing to push out of your comfort zones and do stuff that you've not done before, things that maybe you're afraid to do, you're not going to get anywhere. You're essentially going to be running around in circles doing the same thing that you've always been doing. And if you're waiting for an opportunity to get lucky, to strike it big, you're going to be waiting for a long time. I mean, your career as an artist can happen right now, but you have to take the reins and you have to be willing to do all the things that you can possibly do to get your work out there in front of people. If I was able to go back and talk to the insecure version of me, I would tell him, just get your work out there however you possibly can. Whether or not it is restaurants, whether or not it is opening up a booth at the flea market, whether or not it is talking to museums, whether or not it is talking to other artists and finding out where the shows are, whether there's a market in town, whatever opportunity you have to show your work, show your work. Now, you could be a stuffy, stuck-up artist waiting for the opportunity because there is this way that you do it. You know, you create artwork and then you get representation. And then from there, your representation becomes big and you go from this gallery to that gallery. That's all fine and dandy. But a lot of that is dependent on someone else taking the reins. And that just doesn't work for me because I need to make money with my art now. I don't have time to sit around and wait for somebody to discover me or wait to get lucky. And no disrespect to the person that left that comment. I totally understand. I mean, I came from a mindset where it's like, yeah, I don't want to show my stuff in a restaurant. What if it gets ruined? Or I definitely don't want to show my stuff at a flea market. I mean, you know, that's not what an artist is. I think that person is more concerned about what their reputation is as an artist. And honestly, I could tell you, nobody fucking cares. Nobody cares where I started or whether or not I have an art education. All they care about is when they look at a piece and they have a conversation with me, whether or not they like it or not. That's pretty much it. As far as reputation, nobody remembers where I started or what I was doing 5 years ago, let alone what I was doing last year. Nobody cares. Really, nobody cares. The only thing that matters is what you put on your resume and what it is that you tell other people and whether or not you feel like an artist, because that's ultimately what matters, is how you feel about your art career and whether or not you're making money. Whether or not you're making money now or you're just sitting around waiting for things to happen.
Yeah, nobody's going to talk about your origin story unless you're already famous.
Yeah.
And if that's the case, then good on you. You did something right.
Yeah, and most people's origin stories, they started out not good. You know, most people that became famous because they weren't famous. They didn't start out, like, with a good reputation.
Artists are rabble-rousers and against the grainers by nature.
Yeah, so just remember that. Be a rabble-rouser, go break some comfort zones, and move forward. And that's it. That's all I've got. Hopefully my rambles made sense. And if you guys have anything to add or you have any questions for us, just leave them in the comment section below. And thank you so much for watching, you guys. You guys are so freaking amazing. I absolutely adore you. And if you like this and you want to watch more like this, you could click right over here to subscribe. And that's it. Say goodbye, Clee.
Good day.
Adios.